Hey, everybody, we've got everybody admitted, Diane, and we've got the recording started.
Thank you so much. I always hate to start out with a weather report, but Rachel just made me really jealous. What did she say? It was 72. And we had about an inch and a half of snow yesterday.
Oh, my
No fair.
goodness.
All right. Yeah, we're moving into spring weather. And I see an old buddy of mine, John, out there. Hi. And yeah, I can't see everybody else who's in here, but I know that we have some regulars. So glad to have all of you here today. And this is our Friday book to biz. It seemed to me like Fridays would be a great way to wrap up the week with the concept of a book. And then maybe you can curl up with a book over the weekend or just do this really fast instead. And today we're looking at Predictably Irrational, the hidden forces that shape our decisions. And yeah, we lots of times we think we're acting rationally, but in fact, we probably aren't. So this will help to highlight some things as you go through the prompt today. It is general background. If you don't already have a version of ChatGPT, you can go to chat.openai.com and get a free version. Now, of course, it's more limited. We always suggest $20 a month for the paid version is probably one of the best 20 a month that you'll have spent in a long time. But nevertheless, if you just want to get in and dabble, there's that free version. And then the next thing that we do is we always share our slides, usually a couple of times throughout, as some people come in a little later in the process. But if you look in your Zoom chat, we will have a copy of the slides for today with tips and links and all that kind of stuff in it. And then what we'll be doing is also providing you with the prompt here in a minute or two. And while we're getting together, AI is happening. It's here and it's moving very fast. I'm in this AI consultants group, and a lot of the things that have been predicted over the past 6 months are just they're happening. It's amazing, and things that even that weren't predicted, just brand new things are popping in all the time, day to day. Literally, and it's happening. And so, employees who know how to use it to help their employers become more highly valued, and people who don't learn how to use AI unfortunately are going to get left behind. And success now in this day and age is less about what you've been trained, what you learned in school, is more about what you can do. So, the financial perspective, of course, that's my background. Each one of us wants to be more efficient in what we're doing on a day to day basis. And we've found that it has helped us make our work more enjoyable. And we've all become more valuable in our role. There are four of us here at Info Plus, and we've all adopted AI first to the very best extent of the way that we look at things. And for our teams, that's what we've done here is that we want all of us to be able to work faster and smarter and more efficiently together and we share back and forth with what we're doing with AI as well. And for our clients, we want them to be able to work faster and smarter and more productively. And of course, you know what? If they're not willing to take on the AI, we can use it to help them and become better consultants and advisors. So if we help them or teach them, we can become their heroes or we just do it on their behalf. So we're recording. Recordings are going to be available approximately 5 to 7 business days, within a few days, one way or the other. And if you need that link, although I'm doing a pretty good job of sending those out, you can always let us know here at AI and Tech at infoplusacct.com for a link. We do close the doors to the workshop when we first share files to download, usually 10 to 12 minutes after we start. And this prevents interruptions for on-time participants. Confidential information. Be sure that you don't share any confidential information with other people in this presentation. And then for breakout sessions, you're going to see a timer on your screen within the breakout session showing how long is left in that breakout session. And when we close the breakout, don't leave. You'll feel like we kicked you out, but we didn't. Just hang out for a moment or two and you'll be back into the main session. So I got involved in AI a little over a year ago and really got hooked, pretty much addicted. Not right away, but the more you use it, the more you use it. And As a result, I joined the Simple AI Consultants Group with over 100 AI focused consultants where we share AI training and creative applications. We're a reseller for some of their training options. They do have free and paid options. So if you want to get into it deeper, let me know and I can show you a little bit more. And one of the things that Simple showed us was how to use it for every role within any type of organization. So it doesn't matter if you are the receptionist or the project manager or the company owner or the salesperson, all of those things will work equally well for you as you apply AI. So the flow for today's workshop is that you hopefully have downloaded and saved the PDF slide deck from the Zoom chat. And then you're going to download and copy today's book overview and prompt into your ChatGPT. And if you have it available, we recommend using the 4.0 option. There are reasoning models out there and so on, but 4.0 seems to work the best for the types of work that we're doing here. The reasoning models are a little more oriented towards science and numbers and so on. So our objective today is to ask ChatGPT to help you apply at least one of the ideas from today's book to your work or your business. And so just some ideas here, of course, is the book is about how humans behave in ways that are not always in their own best interest or even logical. And the other thing is how does that impact, particularly I noticed marketing impacts. So whether it's your marketing or how you're getting influenced by other people's marketing, things are going on in the back of our brain or on the lower levels of our brain that we don't even realize. At any rate, then one of them I thought the theory of relativity, Laura, our COO. And by the way, I'm so happy to have our COO, Laura, here, as well as Rachel Foster, who is facilitating to make sure that things are happening the right way in the background. So thank you guys for being here. Laura and I chatted about this ahead of time, and that relativity is, have you ever noticed that sometimes salespeople will say, here's, oh, maybe they're showing you houses. So they take you to the $1.2 million house and you get your water going. And then they take you to the $750,000 house. And then they take you to the $350,000 house. Well, what they've done is they've adjusted your sense of relativity in there. And so you start thinking about money in a different way because they've shown you particularly higher priced items. I thought that was fascinating when I heard about it. I first heard about it probably a good 10, 15 years ago. And I went, oh, wow, that's amazing. And so our brains work in odd ways. So that's the theory of relativity. So what we're going to do is I set this prompt up so that the AI, you're going to tell it just a tiny bit of information about yourself and then see which one of the concepts in the books is going to help apply to your particular circumstance. And then my little tip in here is I said rerun your prompt again later because you get to keep this prompt and ask it to address one of the other concepts in the book because it's going to lay out some of those concepts for you. And it might give you 7, it might give you 9, and it'll pick one out for you and apply it. And then you could go back and say, yeah, that's nice, but now I want to see how this other concept applies to me. So we're going to spend about 12 minutes so you can work with your own individual results by running the prompt. And then we'll get back together for about 12 minutes to collaborate and discuss our results.
I think we're going to just stay in one group.
Okay, I'll stay together. So we won't do the breakout. We'll just share with each other and have ideas and so on. So we'll spend about the last up to 20 minutes going out and talking about what we found, what we saw, what we think, what's the quality, etc. And then I'll wrap up at the end with a few AI tips. Does that sound okay with everybody?
It does. And just a tip on today's prompt. It was so cool. Diane put this prompt together and I was able to take a look at it ahead of time. So you'll copy the whole prompt, paste it in, and it will come back and ask you to provide it with your role and a couple other pieces of information, which means you don't have to modify the prompt itself. You can just copy it out of that text file and paste it into ChatGPT. and then provide the answers as it goes through.
And hopefully, if you guys ever get a chance to look back in these prompts, you can start seeing how they're structured. And you know what? Since I started doing these classes, I didn't start out as a prompt expert. I'm not a prompt. I wouldn't consider myself to be a prompt expert. But every time I put together a prompt and try it and test it, I learned something new. And for instance, one of the things in here was I got an answer the first time I tested it that I didn't quite agree with. It was kind of on target, but I didn't quite agree with it. So I ended up asking in here somewhere about, let's see, I think I added in the part to say, do you agree with this concept? And if not, tell ChatGPT how you might want to change it. And then at the end, I did say, tell me how much time you saved me. I'm learning how to add a few little things in as we go. So you guys can, for whatever it's worth, you can study these and pick up ideas, because that's, I also look at other people's prompts and see what I can learn. We're all learning this together. This is not, AI is not an established science. It's like just wading into the deep end of the pool and saying we're going to keep splashing around and keep going with it. So let's move on into our 12 minutes of, we'll call it library time. And I'll pull up our timer and keep it up here on the screen so you can keep an eye on it pretty easily. And
excuse me, I have
I'll
a
do.
question. Just to be clear, I'm copying everything in the prompt, all the parts and everything.
Yep,
Correct?
you can go over
Okay.
and do Control plus the letter A will
Just
pick up
okay.
everything. And then you can go over and do Control V, which will paste it. Well,
Yeah.
Control A is everything, and then Control C, and then
Right.
Control V.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I was capturing everything in the prompt and not just parts
Yep.
of it. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
there are, again, you can set things up in different ways. You can tell people, well, just copy and paste part one and go work with that, and then part two. But this one, I think, is hanging together pretty well by labeling it up as part one, part two, part three, and spots where we ask it to check back with you as well. Yeah, thanks for asking that. Any other questions, of course, you can either break in or just put the question in the Zoom chat. Okay, there we go. Now we're counting down. So I will mute myself and turn my camera off, and I'll be back with you. I might give you a warning a couple minutes ahead of time, but see you soon. Okay, you've got a couple minutes left, and then we'll regroup. Our timer finished. Kind of fun having a timer, a few things that you can say, yep, this is going to take me just this period of time. Yeah, I would like to just go around the room, and actually maybe I'll share mine first and let you see what I came up with. Of course, not all the in-depth detail. All right, so this is what I put the prompt in. And then I put the answer, and it gave me, what I like about it is it comes back and repeats back. You know how that concept of if you're having a conversation with somebody and they're telling you a bunch, then you're supposed to repeat it back to them. It seems to do that for us here. And it's confirming that what we gave it is really what it's going to be working with. And then for me, the concept that it came up with was the cost of ownership, the endowment effect. And that talks about how once we've adopted something that we have a tendency to want to hang on to it. And because we're adding a whole additional direction into the company now by going in this direction of AI, it came back and told me that maybe I was just too attached to what I'd been doing for the last 30 years. And that's where I changed the prompt to say, do you agree with this? Because I didn't modify mine, but I went, no, I don't think I'm too attached. Yes, it has its place, but I'm really ready to move on into some of these newer things. And it's very exciting for me. So that's what caused me to change my prompt a little bit to say, do you agree with it? But I just went with it. And it says how it applies to my daily work. And it gave me a practical tip, and it gave me an example prompt, and gave me some long-term ideas and strategic decision framing, and do I want help implementing, and etc. And then I had it ask us if I wanted a month by month or a week by week plan. And I said month to month would be good. And then it gave me my layout by month. And I found this to be very helpful. What I would really like to do now is that after I've refined the prompt a bit, I'd like to go back in and do it again. And yeah, so that's how mine came out. See, it came up through 6 months and a final thought that it's reassuring me that I'm not leaving behind my legacy. I'm evolving it, which is really the way I think of it. And it says I'm applying the same values of clarity, control, and profitability to a new toolbox. And then it keeps offering to do more things. And overall, the summary of the time savings, because it was giving me, I've got it out in my settings that I want to know how much time I saved. It gives me little snippets all the way through, but I said, no, I really just want to know the grand total. So in my case, it was about 4 hours and 15 minutes to 4 hours and 45 minutes. And I'm going, no, it would have taken me much longer than that to put this all together. I wouldn't. It would have taken thought time, to say nothing of reading the book and deciding which thing applied. So that's my piece. Now, would anybody like to volunteer? Raise your hand in the chat. Oh, John, go ahead.
Oh, it's awesome. I've been using, just to preface, I'm using AI for about 8 months now. And so with the new versions and whatnot, across the board, it has your memories. I just changed that. I've got notification of that this morning. But in this book, I went in and I picked up number 9, why we cheat a little bit. It's one of the insights in the book. And it went back in as my role as a coach consultant in the arena that I'm in. And I had some real good stuff that I agreed about 90% on. So I didn't change it a whole lot. But it talked about how I would, because I tend to cheat a little bit in work, being around for a long time, you tend to cheat and don't do the hard things you should do. So it just went in and gave me shortcuts and justifications, and then gave me a statement, a aspiration. And then it took me into coaching my clients. And I'm actually going through a situation with my clients in my career right now. I'm a know-it-all. Since I've been in this industry 5 decades, I'm a know-it-all. And so I'm not coming off it the way I should with my clients. But it said coaching clients who may be rationalizing this too, which I've found that most clients do this. They cheat, and they cheat a lot. So it just talked about my role, how I address it, the verbiage that I should address it, questions to take it through. And it really got into cultural and ethical clarity. And then it told me in the end on action items for my own company that I should go in and set up a personal and team integrity checkpoints to make sure we're not cheating. And then write a statement on a value statement or a cultural statement. So as I look at it, it's pretty good. And I'm amazed, Diane, about what it's taken 50 years of my experience, and it now knows me. It's scary. It is scary that when I talk with it or whatever, it's like I'm talking to you or talking to somebody else. So a lot of the stuff is already in my memory. So it goes back and really looks and takes whatever I'm doing and the prompts and does a good job. So I've got some actionable things from this just that saved me a lot more in 4 hours.
Great, great. And did anything surprise you?
Yes. How we justify wasted time, justify cheating. And when I say cheating, I'm not talking about embezzlement or anything like that, but just cheating
Yeah.
on time, cheating on our strategic plan, just focusing too much on results rather than focusing on value. So I think that was my insight, is to really start not cheating with, especially myself in my own company and also with my clients, by not giving them, taking the time to really assess and really bring value. So yes, that was my insight. Slow down.
Nice. And then maybe as you wrap up, just a thought, as you wrap up with a client, just take a minute and a half or something and just type something in about your interaction and then see what ChatGPT comes up with for you. So
Yeah.
not
And
with
one of
this
the nice
particular
things, I
prompt,
use
but yeah.
Fireflies also for the note taker, which is pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is take those notes and condense them down and put it into chat as a final summary with every session that I do.
Yeah, nice. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else want to raise your hand? We'll get to everybody sooner or later. You could just jump in if you want to. How about Laura?
Okay, I thought I got some very interesting output. The idea that it chose for me was the anchoring first impression stick. I read through the information. I went, that is so true for me in my role, not only for me in my role, but for me personally, is the first impressions really do stick. I got some great information about how we might move forward in and use this concept as we go out and work with clients. So I thought that was very interesting.
Nice. Rachel, I never ask you. You're always running things in the background. I don't know if you ever get a chance to sit down and do these. Did you?
I did about
Okay.
half of it, so I didn't get very far at all. A lot of reading, that's why.
All right. So I put you on the hot seat there. Next time I'll warn you ahead of time. So thanks so much. Shonda, would you like to share?
First, start out by saying I am a newbie to AI and ChatGPT. I am one of those people who I don't want to use it, but I recognize that I need to learn it, especially since I had a client who submitted a manuscript, well, a proposal, and I looked at it and I was like, is this all AI, ChatGPT? And sure enough, it was. I'm like, what? So I'm like, I really need to learn this stuff. So I didn't do it right. I thought I did, but I didn't. But the information that came back was actually pretty good. And I'm in agreement with it. I did try to go a little deeper with it. It did by asking, what role does community engagement play in enhancing brand loyalty? And whatever version I chose, like the 4.0 or whatever you said, select, I guess I chose the wrong one because it stopped me and it told me that I've hit my limit for free messages. I was like, oh.
If you're working in the free version, you only have a limited, it will limit the number of responses that you can get in a given day. And that's where I said for $20 a month, I'd say try it for $20 a month. But the paid version, that plus version, is all we've ever used. Yeah, there's a $200 a month version too, but nobody, unless you're using it deeply. But yeah, that's a really good investment and it won't stop you at a certain point. It's pretty much unlimited.
And it is a monthly subscription. So if you want to give it a try just for the $20 for a single month, you can give it a whirl and see if it gives you more value add as well, Shauna.
Yeah, it definitely seems worth it. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate it.
Good. Now you said you did it wrong. Tell me what you think you did wrong. Did you copy and paste the whole thing in?
I did. And so I looked at the format that was given back for you. Mine looks nothing like that. And now that I'm looking at it, I see where all the parts weren't done. Maybe that's why. I see part one and I see part two. And I think under part two is when I attempted to ask the question for getting to part three. And that's where it stopped me.
It might have cut you off at that point. Yeah. Next time when you join, just don't use it before you join, and then you should be fine for our session. Or go ahead and give it a shot at the paid version. I think you'll like it.
I'll do the paid version, so I'll be ready next go around.
That'll be fun. That's great. And let's see, we got Shy. How about you? How did yours turn out?
Mine turned out it gave me the power of defaults, that one, and I think it totally fits the role of being an executive assistant. So it showed me how it applies to my daily work as well, like how to eliminate or how to give a default just so we can eliminate our repetitive tasks or questions in every clients or in every workflows or processes that we have. So for me, it really suits and it gave advice as well, like how to follow through the plans or the other things that I can do in order to minimize those minimal errors along the processes, because the power of default is important with my role there.
Could you tell us what the power of default was about? What was that about?
It says people tend to stick with the default setting. So it mentioned like want to improve opt-ins, employee benefit selection, like that. So make the default the desirable choice. And then it linked to being an executive assistant on how it is shaping the flow of tasks and communication, that there should be a default system sometimes so that you can eliminate like the task. It gave example when we're in just the filling up of dates. So when you are filling out a form, you can have already dates already attached, just so people won't forget it. People won't have to fill that up, so that you still have a complete form at the end of the day there.
Oh.
So defaults can work both for us and against us, just like
Yeah.
anything in life. Yeah, yeah. It can be a good thing, and it can also make it so that we don't think outside the box. There are certain things where the defaults make life easier, and
Easier.
other places where it might be working against us to be thinking about something
Agree.
different. Let's see. And I think we have Lori. I haven't heard from Lori yet.
Lori's been silent in the background. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday afternoon. I like this particular book and this particular prompt because it really got me thinking about how we are influenced by our own experiences and how that also will be influencing who we're speaking with. So, in my case, as a QuickBooks Pro advisor and a coach and a trainer, my most relevant concept is the cost of social norms. As a service-based professional working in a small consulting firm, I operate at the intersection of trust-based relationships and fee-based services. The insight on how social norms, specifically friendship, goodwill, and trust, can clash with the market norms of money, pricing, and contracts hits especially close to home in my kind of work.
Yeah.
And that's extremely true, extremely true. So this came through with how this applies to me in my day-to-day work. And I love that it says this because it says I probably find myself regularly walking this fine line between offering friendly advice during a quick call or spending a few extra minutes trying to help a longtime client versus deciding when to invoice for small bits of time or whether you should be invoicing and deferring the client to more of a consulting role, right? So it walked through that. It provided me with some long-term strategies on how to think about services and what you're offering and where that boundary lies so that it's not a spur of the moment, oh my gosh, I have to, should I or shouldn't I? It's something that you've already built into your processes and your procedures about this is what is, this is what is not. And then it went a step further by helping me to take action and created a week by week plan for putting this into play. Week one is defining those boundaries. Week two is reviewing the client onboarding so that we're setting the expectations at the beginning of the business relationship. And it goes on and it's got a 6-week kind of map for me to start thinking about these things and really keeping them in motion. And I know Diane has most of this already in play, but it's good refresher and reminder that these things do come up and they need to be addressed. Yep.
Nice. Thank you, everybody, for participating in this. And now we're going to move on into the next phase. And we've been doing our takeaways. See, everybody's sharing their coffee and lunch. So I guess we're a little past lunch, but this is our one advertisement page in here. All of these links are clickable. And of course, this AI at work. And of course, we are also doing the Book-to-Biz side and getting advice from some of the world's greatest minds in the business front through and applying it to us specifically in our role and so on. So we're doing that on Tuesdays and Fridays. The AI at Work orientation is more on Tuesday and the Book-to-Biz on Fridays. These are other products that I have developed over the years of working with clients to help them put job costing systems in place. We have recently done a major upgrade on our month-end closing system, and it line by line explains why it's important to do each one of the steps that we have put in there. So if you get a chance, you can go take a look at that. And then, of course, if any time you want to learn a little bit more about some of the more advanced AI training options, go ahead and make an appointment, talk to me, and we can sit down and I can show you what some of those possibilities are. So, our AI tips for today, and John mentioned one of these already, and this is a repeat. I will repeat the tips between Tuesday and Friday of those weeks because you know what? Somebody can show me tips one day and I go, oh, that's really a great idea. And then the next day the thought's gone. So this is a way to repeat that. So first of all, this kind of goes in order across the top here. You can, and these are only just some of your settings, it's not all of them. But if you go in and modify your settings and look here and then go to custom instructions and then go click over on this side, then you're going to see where it says customize ChatGPT. And one of the things that you can do is put out in that customization what your role is. And maybe if you've got your bio out on a web page or somewhere, wherever you want to give it the information, you can put other information about yourself. You can have tell ChatGPT what kinds of traits you want it to display. You can say, I want you to use this type of a writing style. And I said, for instance, your preference, I usually like to write in the second person, but you can always change it, of course. You can write your own, or there are now some presets out there. So you could say, oh, I want to be witty and engaging, or I want to be professional and formal. So there's buttons you can click now. Another thing is you can say add the date, time, and estimated time saved. And I had it to each response. Well, that kind of worked against me because every little piece that I was doing, it was telling me how much time I saved. So I need to go out and say at the end of each response, probably, because that's more useful than seeing little bits and pieces. And then there are a lot of other advanced usage choices. So just go out there and play with it. And just to be helpful, I went out and did a screenshot here and said, tell me more about the custom instructions features. And I couldn't fit all this on a PowerPoint slide. So I cheated, John. I took a screenshot and I put it on the slide. But I call that being efficient. All right.
Agreed.
At any rate, and of course you can't click through on the references in here, but it's giving you some information about how to best fill that out. And the cool thing about ChatGPT is when you go out and ask it a question, if there's anything that you want to know more about, you could just say, tell me more about prioritizing information. Can you help me do that? And it will give you another page and a half. Yeah, you can always ask for more information. So those are my tips on making ChatGPT work better for you. And so far, we haven't run out of tips. I think I got a list of about 40 that I'll throw out here, there. And of course, every time something new comes out, then I have to put that on the list too. Okay, Lori, go ahead.
Lori wants to expand on the asking ChatGPT more questions about a particular topic. Shanda, when you pay for the subscription, ChatGPT keeps all of your chats for you in a historical listing on the left side. And it will allow you to create projects, which are groups of chats that are pertaining to a specific topic. And so, for example, I looked something up 3 months ago. I can go back to that same chat. I can open that chat and I can go in and I can say, okay, now I want to know about this. And I don't have to rewrite the original chat. I can go back into the existing one and continue my conversation with ChatGPT. It really is just like having a virtual assistant with this little library going on the side where you can keep expanding upon certain topics and what you're working on, and it really becomes a great resource. So you're going to really find the $20, the $5 a week is well worth it because I'm using it not only for business, but for personal as well. And it's a huge time saver. No
Right.
more Googling anything.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
That's great to know.
absolutely. Yeah.
So we're just gonna, actually, we're done a little earlier than normal today, but just to give you guys an idea of what's coming up, 2-week gap, okay, on Tuesday, the 22nd, we're gonna work on how to obtain a glowing review. So if any of you need reviews, reviews are a big thing, and social proof. The marketing people want you to have all sorts of reviews, and you may have a couple of different review sites that you work with. So that doesn't matter as much, but it's really about getting that review. How do you approach people and request a review? And then, yeah, I'm going to be working on the prompt for that because we're working on our work, which is what we're advised in our AI consultants group, is work on your work. So I'm going, yep, that's one of the many challenges that we have as business owners. And I just took a course from somebody, and they've got a very cool thing that I'd like to look at, and it's a really easy way to get video reviews. I'm going to look into that. I actually did one for him once a while back, and it was one of those things that kind of flew past me, and I went, "Ooh, that looks like a good idea." And now I'm getting another chance to remember. Because, of course, it was, again, one of those things that kind of flew past. So that's what we'll work on the next Tuesday when we get together, 2 weeks from last Tuesday. And then on Friday, the book we're going to do is Making Ideas Happen, Overcoming the Obstacles Between Vision and Reality. Yep. In our consultants group, we have a saying that was repeated to us many times. It says, ideas are easy, results are hard. And then there's another layer, transformation is rare. I think that's the third piece. But one day after I'd heard that about 14 times, all of a sudden I went, oh, that's really right. The results are the hard part. Actually doing the things that we have the ideas for. Sometimes you just have to hear something a few times before it sinks in. And Scott has interviewed hundreds of the most productive creative people in teams in the world, revealing one common trait, a carefully honed capacity for executing ideas. Implementing your ideas is a skill that can be taught, and Belsky distills the core principles in this book. So my biggest problem, I think, is I just got way too many ideas to ever execute. I need a team of 50 people. But we all have ideas, and then we have to decide which ones to implement. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here today and for participating and for sharing. And I'll just encourage all of you to continue to think AI first for anything that you would normally just, something comes across your desk and you go, oh, okay, now I'm going to work on it. Just tell yourself, stop, stop, stop before you do anything. Let's talk to ChatGPT first. You'll save yourself a lot of time. And half the time I'm through an email response or I'm halfway through something and I go, oh, geez, back the bus up and let's do this the better way. So, yeah, keep thinking AI first. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Have a great week and a successful month and a fantastic year. See you soon.
Guys, have a great
Bye
weekend.
for now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.